Hi everyone, it is the 4th. My name's Erin. Welcome back to my channel. So it's a Vlogmas video. Today I want to wrap up what I finished reading in November because if you're interested or you're looking to be surprised, I didn't read 30 books in 30 days. I ended up reading 13, so I need to wrap up a couple of those books because I think I talked about the first 10. I've also finished a book already this month, so it's just kind of going to morph into these recently read videos because that's what happens. So I had a couple duds and a couple really good ones. So let's get into it. We're going to start on a negative note because I really just couldn't with this book. It's an essay collection. It's a debut. It's called Nobody Cares by Anne T. Donahue. And if I'm being frank and if I'm being honest, that's exactly how I felt about this collection. And it's for a couple of reasons. The first is that it's marketed for people between the ages of 20 and 30. Hey, that's me. It's supposed to be like an advice, funny, quirky, essay collection because Anne, of course, is a quirky, wild person who learned a lot from being quirky and wild, and it's now a relatable thing, even though it wasn't relatable when she was growing up. And also, you can tell that it's her first collection, and that's not really a great thing in my opinion. So, though it's marketed for people older, it definitely feels condescending that way because, of course, you wouldn't know these things and you need Anne to tell you about them. So I would definitely recommend it maybe for someone younger who is maybe like coming into their 20s because, yes, it's full of a lot of, good advice, but to me it wasn't funny and it wasn't quirky and it wasn't relatable. And I could just feel how bad she was trying to be those things, and it just wasn't working with me. She breaks the fourth wall a lot and talks to you, the reader, and that is never my jam. And there was a very weird sort of, it's not even a pacing issue because it's an essay collection, but there wasn't at all like a linear thread, and you could tell that some of these essays were pulled from her blog and others were written for the book because she tells you that. And she'll spend a whole essay telling a story, and then 2 essays later she's saying, hey, remember that story, and she summarizes it, and it just doesn't feel right. Like, it's a spacing issue in the essay collection. Maybe they should have put the essays in a different order because I like to binge read essays. I want the essays to be readable and have, even if they're all about different things, not have the same thing crop up in several essays because it just sort of felt like filler space and it was not for me. So I would say pass on this. I might pick up something else if she writes anything in the future because I do think that she has potential to grow as a writer. I just think that this was not ready for publication. I don't know. I've heard some weird things about her Twitter. The next book that I read is A Land of Permanent Goodbyes by Atia, Abawi. Oh man, this is a great book. It is heartbreaking and just packs a punch. This is the story of a boy who has this beautiful family and they're living in Syria and life is good, and then a bomb falls from the sky and everything is different. And we see his immigration through various countries trying to find a safe space. And alongside him are a number of people doing the same thing. So it becomes this insider view of, the Syrian refugee sort of crisis that's happening right now. And I felt very similarly when I read The Boat People, although that's more of an adult fiction. This is very much YA. There, of course, are things that I, as a white person in Canada, couldn't relate to, but I definitely empathized with, and I am not, able to say whether things would or would not happen in that situation, but I think that this is a very good place to start if you want to understand what's happening. It's beautiful, and I would recommend it to, just about anyone. It is, not for the faint of heart, but I also do believe that it is a very important story to read. So yeah, I think that it's very, very important and wonderful. The next thing that I read was Taking the Arrow Out of the Heart. This is a poetry collection by Alice Walker. Maybe it's because I am, again, a white woman living in Canada who never had to experience the civil rights movement in the States, but a lot of this poetry is talking to that and is talking and speaking to people who I think were very important in her life, who are, I assume, gone or just not who she's talking to. This is a very emotional collection of poetry, but I could not connect. And I think that that's a me problem and not this collection problem. So if you like Alice Walker, if you are interested in civil rights movement poetry, or even just like the Black experience poetry, then this I think could be very valuable, but it just maybe was the wrong time, the wrong headspace, the wrong mindset for me to be reading it in. Especially because it was something that I was, trying to do for a challenge. So I wasn't really giving myself time and space to mull over it the way I think that you're supposed to. So it's a me problem, not the book problem. So those are the things that I read in November, and I want to talk to you about the book that I finished last night because it's so surprising. It's a young adult book. That's two in this video, and they're the two that are like standing out. This is the third young adult book that I've read this last half of the year that I've really just has exceeded my expectations. There are a few things wrong with it that I will get into, but it's Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. I think the fact that she's written adult fiction before really is to her benefit because this doesn't read like a tropey young adult. So this is the story of Beatrice, who is kind of a lone wolf now because in the past she had a group of friends and her boyfriend was part of that group. He ends up dying and they all fall out. More like she falls out with them and they are all still friends living their lives. When the story opens, it is Whitney, one of her friends' birthdays, so she decides now's the time she's going to go have a good time with them and maybe try to sort of close the bridge and find out what happened to Jim, her boyfriend. When she gets there, everybody's really excited to see her. They have a great time.